So welcome everyone. My name is Rosa Villegas. I'm one of the advisors here in the International Student Center. And I'm joined today by a couple of our colleagues. So Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Everybody, my name is Michael. I am also one of the educational advisors in the office. I advise students' last names K through S. And while Miss Kathy is out, I'm also doing T through W.
Jenny?
My name is Jenny. I'm the Administrative Assistant for International Student Center.
Thank you. Anissa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Anissa Tagayun and I am the International Success Coach for the Pathway Center.
So we are very happy that you are here joining us this afternoon. Again, this presentation is regarding optional practical training. You're going to hear us say OPT a lot throughout this hour. So thank you for being here. We will be happy to answer any questions that you have. You can either post them in the chat or we will answer them at the end of the presentation, but feel free to write them down so that you forget. So again, welcome, and Michael is going to get us started.
Everyone, thank you so much again for joining us today. Like Rosa said, we are going to be presenting on OPT, or optional practical training. Okay. Oops. So today we have a lot to cover, you can see. So we have 6 units, and the first unit is covering what is OPT. The second unit is covering when to apply to OPT. Unit 3 is how to apply. Unit 4 is what to do during OPT. Unit 5 is what happens after OPT, and then Unit 6 is resources and questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So Unit 1, what is OPT? So OPT, as I mentioned in the first slide, it stands for Optional Practical Training. It's a form of temporary employment that is a privilege of your F1 visa. So this is a benefit that you get as a student on an F1 visa. So training, it must be related directly to your major, and it is available during and after your studies. You must be recommended by a designated school official, which is your assigned advisor here in the International Student Center. Once we recommend you, then you must be authorized by the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services, or USCIS for short. And OPT generally can be authorized up to 1 year per degree level. So types of OPT, there are 4 types. There's pre-completion OPT, post-completion OPT, STEM OPT, and CAP-GAP extension. Now, at PCC, you can only do types 1 and 2, pre-completion OPT and post-completion OPT. Since most of our students apply for post-completion OPT, this presentation is mostly going to focus on number 2. If you have questions about number 1 and you want to learn more, you can always come and meet with your advisor and we can help you and talk to you about it. Now, what are the OPT eligibility requirements? So first, you must be enrolled in a full course of study for at least 1 academic year. You must have maintained valid F1 status. You must not have accrued 12 months of full-time CPT. You must be authorized by USCIS. You must earn an associate's degree in order to qualify for post-completion OPT. And you must have not been previously authorized for OPT at the current or higher degree level. So the last one, I think we might be explaining it a little bit more in a future slide, but I'll start it here and we can go into more detail here. But for example, if you have already studied at a bachelor's level in the United States, and you've already done OPT there, you cannot do OPT at the associate's level because we are a lower level of higher education than the bachelor's level. So that's just one example of that last point. So example, like I just said, you can see here is two examples. So you'll see you could do your associate's degree here at PCC, then do 1 year of OPT, then move on to get your bachelor's degree, and then you could do OPT again. That is allowed because you're going higher. So you could go associate degree OPT, bachelor's degree OPT, master's degree OPT, PhD OPT, if you really want to maximize all of the work allowed on your F1 visa. Now, one thing you cannot do on the right side, you see, if you did your bachelor's degree, then you did OPT, then you come and do your associate's degree, you cannot do OPT here because you're going lower in your degree level. So that's just one thing to know, okay? So if you've already done OPT at a higher level, or even at another associate's degree level, you are not able to do OPT. So pre-OPT versus post-OPT similarities. So the similarities between pre and post-OPT is that your job must be related directly to your major. So for example, if you are studying computer science, it would make sense for you to find a job at somewhere like Amazon or Microsoft. Now, if you happen to get a job working at a restaurant, that's not related to your major. And so you cannot do that type of job while on OPT. Now, OPT for pre and post OPT, you do not need to have secure a job to apply. Both do require you to be recommended by your advisor. Both do require you to be authorized by USCIS. And then both are the same. If you have completed OPT at a current or higher level, you will not be eligible to apply for OPT again. Now, different forms of employment that you can do for both pre and post OPT are here on this little computer screen on the right-hand side. So you can see that employment can include paid employment. You could do multiple employers. You could do a short-term job. You can do work for hire, like contract work that's allowed. You could even be self-employed as long as you follow all of the proper ways to register your business and file your taxes. And you can even work through an employment agency. So sometimes there are jobs where an agency will place you in company short-term. That also qualifies. So these are the things that pre and post completion OPT have in common. Now, what are the things that are different? So pre-OPT, you can apply 90 days before reaching 1 year of academic study as a full-time student. So 1 year of academic study is fall and spring semester. So you can apply 90 days before the end of your first spring semester. Whereas for post-completion OPT, you can apply 90 days before your degree completion and up to 60 days after. So that's the window. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more on the when to apply page. Now, pre-OPT, you can work during your studies, whereas post-completion OPT, you can only work after you complete your associate's degree. For pre-completion OPT, you're only allowed to work part-time, so it has to be less than 20 hours. For post-completion OPT, you must work full-time, so it must be more than 20 hours. Pre-completion OPT, there are no unemployment restrictions, but for post-completion OPT, there are restrictions. You can only accumulate 90 days of unemployment. Now, pre-completion OPT, it will be counted towards your 12 months allowance for post-completion OPT. For post-completion, if you have completed the pre-completion OPT for 12 months, or if you've completed anything, that will be taken away from your post-completion OPT. So, OPT rules and regulations. Once again, as we've said many times, the work must be directly related to your field of study or major. So once again, I'll give you another example of a different major. So for example, you were a business major. It would make sense for you to work somewhere like a accounting firm or maybe a corporate business doing something related to business. But for example, you found a job at the local McDonald's as their cashier, but you're working with money and you're counting the money. That's related to business, right? No, I don't think that's related to business. That's a service job and that's not related to your major, and you don't need that degree to work in that job. So remember, it must be related to your major. So you may stay legally inside the United States while OPT applications are being processed. And remember, you cannot start work until you receive your approval and your EAD card, which is the employment authorization document. Make sure to check your start date, which is shown on the card, and that's the date you can start working. Post-completion OPT, you must work more than 20 hours a week. After OPT approval for post-completion, you must find a job within 90 days, and you cannot be unemployed for more than 90 days. That is the limit, and so you want to make sure that you find your job as soon as you can. After you're approved for post-completion OPT, you also must create a SEVP portal account and report your employment. Any changes that you put in there or anything that changes like your address or your job, you can update in the SEVP portal or you can report them to your advisor immediately. Sorry. Hey, Rosa, I'm going to pass it off to you to talk about Unit 2.
Thank you, Michael. So as you can see, OPT is one of the benefits that F1 students have, but there are a lot of rules and regulations that you have to follow. So you already learned what the rules are. Now I'm going to talk about when to apply for OPT. Michael briefly mentioned this to you, but the OPT window, there are certain times when you can apply. And as we're talking about this, we're focusing on post-completion OPT. This is the type of OPT that you apply when you are earning your associate degree here at PCC. So the window opens 90 days before the last day of the semester. So for those of you who are graduating this semester, first of all, congratulations. But you know, you're gonna start counting May 8th as your graduation day. So 90 days prior to that, the window it's already open. So if you're planning or considering applying for OPT, that time it's already open. Then it's graduation day or last day of the semester, May 8th. If you didn't apply before, you still have about 2 months, 60 days that you can still apply for OPT if you wanna get the work permit. Then your OPT here at the associate level, it's only approved for 1 year. So we want you to apply in a timely manner so that you maximize your time approved and that you get the 12 months of OPT. And then your OPT will end. So make sure that you're planning ahead if you're considering applying for OPT. Next. And you're thinking, so how do you apply for OPT? You're talking too much to me about it, and what do I do now if I really want to apply for OPT? So first, if you are considering applying for post-completion OPT, because this is your last semester at PCC and you're getting your associate degree in whatever you study here with us, child development, for example, this is your last semester, and you want to do OPT before you transfer to the university, then the first step is to make sure that you do meet the requirements for graduation. And the people that could help you with that are wonderful academic counselors. So make sure you are already meeting with them or you schedule a meeting with an academic counselor to file for graduation to get your associate degree. And also the counselor will have to complete the OPT recommendation form. That's the form that let us know here in the international office, know that you are qualified to get your associate degree. Second, the OPT application has some documents that you need to collect. If you look at our website, and we'll show you later on where you find the OPT packet, is gonna list the documents that you need to prepare. You will also need to do an application with the government, and this form is called I-765. This is the application for employment. The USCIS website has an online system where students can apply, and it's strongly recommended that you apply online rather than mailing your application. But we have to give you a warning. You can start your application, but please do not submit the application online until you get the OPT I-20 from one of us, either Michael or myself, or the advisor here in the International Student Office. So once you collected your documents and you are ready, then if you still have questions, for example, you're learning a lot today, you're meeting, you collected your documents, but you still have questions, you are welcome to schedule an appointment with us, meet with us, or send us your documents so that we can review them. If you have everything and you meet the OPT eligibility requirements, then we will issue you what is called the OPT I-20. It's going to be a new I-20 that's going to have the OPT recommendation on the second page. After you receive the I-20 from us, then you're actually ready to go back into your online account from the USCIS website to file your application. So again, the takeaway from this slide is do everything, but do not submit your online application until you have the OPT I-20 signed by either Michael or myself or Kathy when she's here, which we are the advisors, and we give you the I-20 OPT recommendation. So make sure you have that before you apply and submit the application online. And remember, if you have questions, make sure you put it in on the chat or let us know at the end so that we can answer your questions. Next. So steps to apply online. The USCIS website has you go in there, and we're going to share this presentation with you, all of you. So don't worry if you're trying to take notes. You can take notes, but remember, we'll send you this so that you have the links. You're going to create your account. Remember that I mentioned the I-765 is the online application to request employment approval. So you're going to complete the I-765 form. Carefully, you're going to answer a few questions. It's not very long. You're going to collect the documents. And again, I'm stressing this, number 4, do not pay and submit your application until you reach out to us in the International Student Center and that you request your OPT I-20 and you receive the OPT I-20. That's when you are ready to pay and submit your online application. So the USCIS website has some online tutorials, and we also here in the office, thank you, Michael, he created a YouTube video to guide you step by step on how to create the application online if you need help. We're not gonna play the video right now, but again, you will have access to these links so that you can play it if you need to. It's very simple, and as long as you follow step by step, it shouldn't be any problem. But again, if you need help, you can schedule the appointment with us. Michael and I will be happy to guide you through the process and help you submit your application when you're ready. So we have been doing this for a little bit of time. We have some tips that we want to recommend you. As I was saying earlier, the application window, there are specific deadlines. So the first tip is that we recommend that the earliest keep in mind the earliest time that you can apply for post-completion OPT is 90 days before the last day of the semester or graduation day. So if you graduate in spring 2022, May 8 is the graduation date, even though the ceremony is a couple days early. So graduation day is considered the last day of the semester. So 90 days before that, which means right now we are helping students apply for OPT if you graduate in the semester. The application must be received by USCIS within the 60-day grace period. So May 8 is your graduation day. Don't come in August and say to us, hey, I want to apply for OPT, because we're going to say, unfortunately, it's too late. We cannot recommend you because your application will be denied. So remember, only 60 days after that graduation date. Something really, really important is USCIS must receive your application within 30 days of the OPT I-20 issue date. So what this means, every time the advisors create an I-20, there is an issue date. So if Jenny requested me an OPT I-20 and she meet the requirements and I issue the I-20 today, she has to submit her online application within 30 days from today. She got busy studying. She went on spring break. She got busy with preparing for the second half of the semester and for finals. And she forgot that she needed to submit her OPT application. It's more than 30 days. What she should do is contact us and say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't file my application on time. It's been more than 30 days. Then we can fix it. We can cancel the I-20 and issue you a new one. However, if Jenny decides not to let us know, she moves forward with uploading the I-20 and submitting her application after 30 days, chances are that she will be denied her OPT because she didn't follow the 30-day period to file her application. So if you are in doubt, if you waited too long, make sure you reach out to us before you complete the application. And USCIS is the agency, the government agency that processes and approves the application. Here in the international office, Michael and I will help you through the process. We will recommend it, but we don't give you the approval. The approval comes from USCIS after they process the application, and their processing time range from 3 to 5 months. In the last couple of months, we saw something like we never seen before, in which an application for OPT, a couple applications for OPT got approved in 3 weeks. But that's not usually the norm. That's why we always say plan ahead, and it's better to plan ahead, submit your application on time and get approval rather than waiting. And maybe if you wait too long and the office takes too long, they may shorten the 12 months, because if they process after the date that you requested, the dates may change. So we always recommend it's better to apply early. We'll get to your question in a little bit, okay? So as I was mentioning, OPT is one of the benefits for F1 students, but the application does require a few documents. And as you can see, all of these documents, they're very easy to collect and to gather. Most of them, you already have them. You just need to scan them, save them as PDF files so that you can upload them to your application. You need to make sure your passport is valid, so you'll make a copy of your passport. You need 2 passport style photos. Those you can go get them to any CVS, Walmart, Walgreens. Just request for passport photos and they will give them to you. The application requires a copy of your most recent I-94. The I-94 is the entry document that is you can retrieve it from this website. Again, we'll send you the presentation so you have all these links. You should include copies of your I-20s that were issued to you either from PCC or if you came from another school, make sure you include all the copies of the I-20s. And we say, make sure you copy page 1 and page 2. Don't worry about page 3, because that's usually all the instructions that you're supposed to read. So page 1 and 2 is enough. And then if you need to include a copy of your F1 visa, or if you change status within the US, you have your approval notice that shows that you were granted F1 status, then you include a copy of that 1-page document that you receive. That's the approval notice. And then if you ever apply for employment authorization document, the EAD card, either for OPT or for whatever reason you had an EAD card issue in the past, you also need to include that. You will also need to provide to us, to the International Student Center office, the OPT request form. This is the form that the counselor signs recommending you for OPT, certifying that you're graduating and getting your degree. This form is just for our offers. You do not need to upload it to the application online. Next. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Okay, so I'm going to share about what your responsibilities are while you are in OPT or during OPT. So I know the application process seems like a lot, but it's actually less difficult than you think, especially when you get the help from your advisors. And so hopefully what you need to do during OPT and after OPT will seem a little bit more simple in comparison. Whoa. Sorry, I'm not used to.
Go to 3, Michael.
Go to 3. Sorry, I'm not used to. Oh, here we go. This. Apologies, everybody. Okay, so what are your responsibilities as a student? So your responsibilities are, first off, health insurance. So as an international student at PCC, your health insurance, you automatically got enrolled when you would pay your fees. Now, it becomes your responsibility when you're on OPT. So you have to buy your own health insurance within, I believe, Rosa, can you confirm 30 days after the end of your, yeah. So if you are applying for OPT this spring, your insurance will end in July. So that means you have until the end of August, August 30th, to purchase your own health insurance. And if you want to have health insurance throughout the entire time during your year of OPT, so you can only purchase for each half of the year. So if you want to have it for the whole time, you need to purchase in the first half of the year in order to purchase the second half of the year. If you miss the first half of the year and you decide, oh, I want the OPT health insurance later on, you can't do that. So you have to make sure that if you want your health insurance, you buy it within 30 days. Okay, so that's a very important thing and it becomes your own responsibility. The second thing is that you must file your state and federal taxes. So each year you have to file taxes, and that's the money that the government takes from your paycheck. So make sure that you file by the tax deadlines. They're usually in April. And so you would be filing the next year after you start working for the job that you do over OPT. But please make sure you file, because if you don't, then you can get in big trouble. You can always reach out to an accountant who's familiar with non-resident taxes, or use software like Sprint Tax or Glacier Tax, and these are made for international students to be able to file their taxes. Now, another really important responsibility is that you create the SEVP portal account. So when you're approved, you will get an email and it will prompt you to open your SEVP portal account. If you get your approval notice and you have not gotten that email, Actually, the email will come on the first day of your OPT. So it won't come on the day you're approved, but it will come on the first day of your OPT. And if that email does not come on your first day of your OPT, please email your advisor. We can reset the email for you so you have that email. Now, the last thing is travel during OPT. So you are allowed to travel during OPT. You need to make sure that you have a travel signature on the second page of your OPT I-20, and the travel signatures are only valid for 6 months. And so just make sure that your travel signature is still valid by the time that you're coming back, that your visa is also valid by the time that you want to come back. So that's the document in your passport. And then we recommend that you have a letter from your employer that states that you are approved to travel abroad, and you are working for them, and et cetera, et cetera. So those are the 3 things we recommend that you carry when you travel during your OPT. Rosa, is there anything you wanted to add to this page that I might have missed?
No, and I think you have additional slide for each one of the
Oh, really? Oops.
but yeah, just make sure that what I will add, in order to create your portal account, you're gonna receive an email, and we're gonna show you where the email comes from. Some students prefer to use the personal email when they're applying for OPT, and my recommendation will be, if you change your personal email, because that's the email you wanna use during OPT, make sure you reach out to us and let us know, because otherwise you may not get the email to create your account if you change that email address from the time you apply. Because remember, if you're applying right now and then tomorrow you change your email and you didn't let us know, you're never gonna get that email to create your SCB portal account. So make sure that if you make any changes, you let us know.
Okay, well, we might be going into each of these in more detail. I guess that slide was like a test of my knowledge. So as we mentioned, really quickly, we'll go through all these again, just to repeat. So the health insurance is optional, and you can purchase it. Remember, you must enroll within 30 days of your current coverage end date. And so the end date for spring, if you're applying this spring, is the July 31st. So apply within 30 days of July 31st. That's subject to change if you're watching this video in the future. So please do not hold us to that date if you're watching this video next fall semester or something. You can apply online, and this would be the website. They launch it each semester. So if it's not live, just wait or reach out to your advisor. It's the same price and benefits as when you were a student. As I mentioned, you must file your state and federal taxes, regardless of the income. And so you can find out more about how to file here on the link. And as Rosa mentioned, these links will all be live when we send out the PowerPoint to you later. And you can file with a professional accountant or a company who is familiar with non-resident tax filing. I highly recommend that you make sure they're familiar with non-resident tax filing. I have had international student friends in the past, who have filed, and the person was not familiar with non-resident tax filing, and they got audited, and it was a nightmare. So yeah, please make sure that they're familiar with non-resident tax filing, just to save you some headaches.
Do not use TurboTax.
Yes, agreed. Now the SCVP portal, they will send you an email on the day that you're approved. Sorry, on the day that your OPT starts, not on the day that you're approved. And the email will come from do-not-reply.scpp@ice.dhs.gov. Follow the account instructions. And then here is the login page. And then in the future, never delete any employer's information, but you can add to it. And make sure to enter start and end dates for each employer. One thing to note is that if you're going to transfer after your OPT, and you're going to cut your OPT short, but you're going to work until the very end day, make sure to put in your end date before you transfer your I-20. because once we transfer your I-20, you can't edit anything onto the SEV portal account. So you'll just have open employment. So it's really important that you make sure you do everything in your portal before your OPT ends. Okay. Travel during OPT. So you're still under F1 status. So we don't recommend that you travel while pending. It's very risky. And we also recommend that you would wait until you get your EAD card to re-enter. So as I mentioned, you need your valid F1 visa, a valid passport, the travel signature on the second page of your OPT I-20, your EAD card, and a letter from your employer. So those are the documents that we would recommend if you're going to travel. Okay, Rosa, what happens after OPT?
So you already learned what are the requirements to apply. You already learned how to apply. You got approved and you work for 1 year, and now you're like, well, what do I do now? I finished my OPT. What do I do? So now I'm going to tell you what you can do after you finish your OPT. So once you finish your OPT, your 12 months of OPT, you have options. One of the options is you want to continue your academic program, you can transfer to another US institution. And you can transfer either to continue at a higher level, meaning you can transfer to the university to earn your bachelor degree. You can transfer to any private school or any school that is a CVIS approved school that can still register F1 students. If you change your mind and you're not ready to continue at the university level, you do have the option to continue here at PCC as long as you change your major. And by changing your major, what I mean is, for example, you earn your associate degree in child development. You do your OPT, you work with the little kids, practicing what you learn here at PCC. And now you're like, well, I don't think I'm ready to transfer to get my bachelor's. Can I stay at PCC? You are welcome to stay at PCC as long as you change your major. So for example, you can tell us, well, now I want to do business because maybe I want to open my childcare. I already have my background and my degree in childcare, but working in one of the childcare centers, I really like, but I want to be owner. So I want to know how to run a business. So then you come back to earn your business degree. That would be an example. You have to change it. If you're transferring, you just transfer for whatever major you want to. Another option is you don't want to continue here in the US. You're going to depart the US because you don't want to, you just finish your associate degree, you finish your OPT. That's all your intentions that you have. You don't want to continue. Then you're going to leave the US. You do have a 60-day grace period from the end date on your EAD card. So what I would recommend is when you receive this employment authorization document, EAD card, make sure you check your name, make sure it's correct, make sure the start and end date are correct, and those are the dates that you're allowed to work. And also the 60-day grace period will start from the end date on your EAD card. So that's really important that you check that, because that's going to determine when you're applying to transfer, when you're leaving the US. And as Michael mentioned earlier, when you're transferring, you have to make sure your OPT portal account is up to date. Make sure you have an end date for your employer. And the same will be if you live in the US. So that's your employment history while you were an OPT. So make sure you always have start and end dates. You can work for multiple employers, but make sure that each employer is updated with the current and accurate dates.
Okay, we're towards the end of the presentation now. So we're going to go over some resources and then we'll take your questions. So Some really helpful resources for you. The first one is called Study in the States. This is a website with tons of information for international students and even international student advisors, like your advisors here in the office. They talk about rules and regulations, videos, and they have blogs. There's lots of information about OPT, so go ahead and look on there if you need any tips about OPT. It's coming straight from the source because they are under the official organization for international students. Another helpful website is the USCIS website down here. You can look for all the different forms. You can also check your application status, and they have video tutorials on how to file online. So this is where you're going to find the online application for OPT. Additionally, another helpful website is Social Security Administration. So you can apply for a Social Security number if you need it, say you don't have one already, or if you've lost it, or if you need corrections. So here's the website for Social Security. Finally, on this page, another helpful website is called eureka.org. You can create a login using the site ID code HMYIWUC, and this will allow you to look for occupations or jobs related to your major. Some helpful terms. OPT, it stands for Optional Practical Training, if you haven't caught on yet already. DSO stands for Designated School Official, and that is your advisor in the International Student Center. EAD stands for Employment Authorization Document, and oftentimes you'll hear people say EAD card because it comes in a card form, like a driver's license. USCIS stands for United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. This, as Rosa mentioned, is the official government entity that is approving you to work and issues the EAD card. DHS stands for Department of Homeland Security. That's another government, a government organization. SEVP stands for the Student and Exchange Visitor Program, and that's what you all as international students are under. SEVIS, or SEVIS, but we call it SEVIS, stands for Student and Exchange Visitor Information Services, and that is the database that we keep all of your information in as an international student. SSA stands for Social Security Administration. That's where you'll go to get your SSN, which stands for Social Security Number. And then the Form I-20 is the 3-page document that you need to apply for your F1 visa. Okay, so now it's time to take your questions. If you have any questions, you can ask them. We will just put up our contact information for you if you want to look at it.
Yeah, Michael, there is a question in the chat that says, can I travel during OPT, will be allowed to work on campus or not?
That's a great question. So on-campus employment, if you're currently working as a student worker and you're applying for OPT, you will have to end that assignment on May 8th. However, if the department that you're working with is willing you to hire you once you get approval for OPT, you can continue working at PCC, but it will be a different type of assignment. And remember, that job has to be related to your major. So in the past, we did have a student, I remember, he was a computer science major, and the department hired him after he got approval for OPT, but the assignment has to be changed. So you will have to work with the department and ask them if they're willing to hire you, but you will no longer be a student worker. You will have to, so right now you may be doing a student worker assignment. It is not related to your major, but once you change to OPT, you will have to be related to your major, and the department has to be willing to hire you for the time that you are approved. And if there is a gap between May 8th and the day that your EAD card or your employment is approved, you cannot work at all. Not here at PCC, not anywhere else. You have to wait until the effective date on the employment authorization card.
There's another question in the chat that says, can I travel by plane if my F1 visa is expired?
You can travel overseas. However, you have to remember that in order to return to the US, you need to have a valid visa. So you will have to renew your visa before coming back to the US. And to renew your visa, you're just gonna follow the process like you did when you apply for a new visa. And this time you wanna make sure that you take your EAD card with you because that shows that you're still under F1 status in OPT. And in this case, I will strongly recommend that you get a letter from your employer indicating that you have a secure job to come back to. Because it's just ensuring the officers that you're coming back to continue your OPT.
There's another question. So if after OPT and the student still wants to stay at PCC, how long would it take to register under the new major?
I can answer this question. So basically what happens, Jenny, do you mind muting? Sorry, there's an echo. So what would happen is if you want to come back to PCC, then you would need to apply as a student again because you would be gone for 1 year. So you need to make sure that you're following our admissions processes. So you need to plan ahead if you plan to come back to PCC and make sure you hit and apply before our application deadlines. Our application is now online, so you can just apply online and make sure you submit all the required documents by the deadline, and then we'll readmit you. Once you submit all of the documents and your application is complete, it takes us about 10 business days to process your application. Yep.
There's another question about OPT. So does the OPT period, the 12 months, counted after the approval of the OPT, which takes about 3 to 5 months, or after the graduation date?
So the date for the 12 months will start upon your OPT start date. So the start date will either be your proposed start date if you applied early, or if it takes so long to process, they'll push your start date back. But the 12 months starts on the start date, not the graduation date.
So it's always a good idea for students, just to add to it, like Michael was saying. So when you're asking for OPT, you're telling us what dates you wanna to be the start date and the end date. That's what we call the recommended dates. When USCIS process your application, if they process in a timely manner, most likely you're gonna get those dates on your EAD card. So it's always, like I was saying, a good idea to check that document carefully. It may be that they took a long time, so they changed the start date. So do not work until you have your EAD card and look at the start and end date very careful. If you see any discrepancies or not, something doesn't make sense, that's when you're gonna reach out to us, Michael, myself, or Kathy, to help you out with what's happening. But the 12 months usually will be listed on your card. If you apply on time, most likely you're gonna get those days that you requested. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and you can ask. We still have a few more minutes to answer questions. So again, for those of you who are graduating this spring semester, the application window is open, so you can go ahead and start the process and reach out to us if you need any help. We're going to be sending you the presentation so that you can review and have access to all the links that we provided you so that you can watch the videos if you need help creating your account.
So there is a what if question. What if the company continues to hire a student even his or her OPT expires? Is he or she eligible to continue working on or just choose among the three options that you mentioned?
Want me to take it, Michael? So that's a really, really good question. Thank you for asking. Unfortunately, you have to stop working on the end date of your EAD card. Again, depending on the situation, if you transfer out, you can talk to the university and to see if you can apply for pre-completion OPT, or if the company is sponsoring you to change status, that will be something that you need to work with them and follow the process, or consult an immigration lawyer. But we strongly recommend you need to follow your period of working only within the employment authorization date. If you continue working and you don't have any approval to work, either through F1 status or through a different visa category, then you will be violating your F1 status. So make sure you talk to the company. They may be willing to sponsor you for a change of status if you qualify and are eligible, but we will recommend that you consult with an immigration lawyer. But don't work outside the work permit dates. Does that answer your question? Very good. Yeah, and when you're reaching the end of your OPT, you may have additional questions because you forgot all this information. So remember, we're always here for you. Don't hesitate to schedule an appointment. Send us an email. You have our emails here, or call, schedule an appointment. We are going to be here to support and answer your questions. I'm going to stop the recording right now.